Aprobado na po ng Food and Drug Administration ang 5 rapid test kits para sa COVID-19. Gagamitin na rin daw ang 17 karagdagang PCR-based test kits sa bansa. Para sa iba pang detalye, nagbabalita si Ria Fernandez. Ria.
Cheryl, binigyan na ng basbas ng Food and Drug Administration ang 5 rapid test kits para magamit ng publiko sa laban natin kontra COVID-19. Ayon kay FDA Director General Eric Domingo, partikular nilang inaprubahan yung mga point-of-care test kit mula sa mga bansang may maaasahang regulatory agencies. Kabilang daw dyan ang China at Singapore. Git ni Domingo, tanging mga trained health professional lamang ang maaaring magsagawa nito. Paglilinaw pa ni Domingo, kailangan pa rin dumaan sa polymerase chain reaction o PCR-based confirmatory test ang magiging resulta ng rapid test. Antibodies lang daw kasi ang kayang i-detect ng nasabing test kits. Kasabay nito, 17 na rin ang PCR-based test kits matapos aprubahan ng FDA ang panibago pang isa. Panawagan ngayon ng FDA sa DOH, dagdagan pa ang bilang ng mga laboratoryong may kakayahang magsagawa ng confirmatory test. Cheryl?
Ria, paano yung magiging distribution ng bagong test kits? Makakatanggap ba ang lahat ng LGUs?
So far, wala pa tayong detalye on how Department of Health will go about this. Pero may mga natanggap na tayo mga report na may mga LGU na nauna nang bumili ng kanilang mga test kit. Kaya lang, ang problema kulang o wala tayong enough facility para magsagawa nga nitong confirmatory test na ito nga yung PCR-based na tinatawag ng ating mga otoridad.
Meron ba binigay na terms and conditions ang FDA para sa government agencies, LGUs, private firms na gustong magsagawa ng sarili nilang rapid tests?
So kahit may go signal na ng FDA yung paggamit doon sa at least 5 rapid test kits mula China at Singapore, ang nais pa rin ng FDA sa ating mga LGU ay maging maingat sa paggamit nito at siguraduhin na may supervision ng trained health professionals.
Ano yung pagkakaiba, Ria, nung rapid tests at PCR-based tests in terms of nakukuhang resulta o detalye mula sa mga individuals?
Sa rapid test kits kasi, antibodies lang yun na detect niya. Itong antibodies na bibildo ng katawan natin kapag may sakit tayo. Halimbawa, nakakuha tayo ng isang virus o halimbawa, bacteria. Ngayon naman, itong PCR-based na test kits, ang hinahanap niya talaga yung mismong virus. So, yun yung difference niya Kasi pwede kang mag-build ng antibodies sa katawan without necessarily contracting COVID-19. Whereas kapag PCR-based test kits daw, sigurado na yung virus na madedetect ay COVID-19 talaga.
So we're saying na hindi pwede gamitin independently yung rapid test kits. Kailangan pa rin ng confirmatory test sa paggagamitan ng PCR-based kits.
Yes, tama ka dyan. Sabi ni Domingo kanina kasi maaari pa rin makakuha ng false negative or false positive na resulta mula dito sa rapid test kits.
Alright, maraming salamat for that update, Ria Fernandez. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III says DOH is set to launch 30 new testing centers nationwide. In a phone interview this morning, the health chief says the additional centers will boost the country's testing capacity from 300 to 1,000 daily. He adds more test kits are arriving from other countries like China and Singapore, with some already undergoing validation. Duque notes that the growing availability of test kits and testing centers is seen to high COVID-19 figures in the coming days. Asked if the health department teams to need to expand the enhanced community quarantine nationwide, Duque says anything is possible. Senator Panfilo Lacson is urging ordinary citizens who have tested positive for COVID-19 to publicly disclose their condition. The senator's call comes as the number of confirmed cases in the country surpassed the 1,000 mark. He says public disclosure will help alert those who came in close contact with the patient to come forward to be tested and treated. Lacson brands the action as a selfless act of responsibility in a bid to flatten the curve. Latest count from the Health Department shows the Philippines now has 1,418 confirmed cases, 71 deaths, and 42 recoveries. Some 690 health workers have heeded to the call for volunteers by the Health Department in the country's fight against COVID-19. They will be assigned at 3 public hospitals for 2 weeks, after which they will undergo a 14-day quarantine. Meanwhile, the Department of Health has apologized for its earlier decision to allot only 500 pesos for the compensation of health volunteers. This was based on their volunteer program last year. Minamadali na po ng SSS ang pagsasaayos ng benepisyo para sa mga miyembrong nawalan ng trabaho ngayong panahon ng COVID-19. Ayon kay SSS President and CEO Veronica Baby Ignacio, posibleng sa susunod na buwan pa mailatag ang benepisyo para sa mga naapektuhan ng enhanced community quarantine. Pero pwede naman daw mag-avail ng iba't ibang klaseng loans ang mga miyembro ng SSS. We'll continue the discussion over at One News, 1PH, and Radio 5. For now, that's the latest on the coronavirus crisis. For News 5, I'm Cheryl Cosim. We are One News.
One, two, three. Good afternoon, I'm Danny Laurel reporting to you guys on the markets and the economy live from my house here in Alabang. Now, the government has been pulling the trigger on stimulus from both what we call, the double barrel stimulus, that's from the fiscal and the monetary sides. Now, a big question is, nasa na tayo in terms of will all of these stimulus or stimuli really help our economy weather through this COVID-19 storm? Let's check in on the latest in terms of the plans of the government. So on the headline today, the big news of the day is that the BSP Governor Ben Duque has said that the Philippines may go into a recession. And the fact is na malayo pa rin tayo. We're very far from understanding what the real impact on the economy is really going to be, how bad it's going to be. But what we know so far is that it's going to be quite bad. Now, we also had an interview from another network in ABS-CBN where he did mention that he's seeing the growth for 2020, the GDP growth of the Philippines standing at 1%. That is a hefty drop from what we've seen. Last year we were at 5.9%, and that put to end many quarters of above 6% growth, and that's very, very far from the government's target range, which was already lowered to 6.5% to 7.5%. So that's a staggering thing. What he is saying that he's expecting right now is, how is this going to play out? In the first quarter, he's looking at a 3% growth per yen. So we might actually still be seeing growth in the first quarter. We're really going to be feeling the pain when it comes to the second quarter and the third quarters of this year. He's saying we're going to be contracting as an economy, having negative growth in those 2 quarters, followed by hopefully a rebound in the fourth quarter. Now, what is a recession in technical terms? It means when you are contracting for 2 consecutive quarters at least. And note that in the global sense, we are actually in a recession na. So, globally, recession na in the Philippines, hindi pa tayo nandun, but this is what might actually happen as well. Now, you've got the IMF's managing director, Kristalina Georgieva. She said, it's clear already right now, this is at least as bad as 2009, but could be worse. So, this is what she is saying. Now, when NEDA Chief Ernie Pernia was asked about these figures of the Central Bank Governor Ben Duque, he said, this sounds just about right. He had earlier even expected, a lower range pa nga in terms of the worst case. He said we could be contracting by 0.6%, and the highest growth he's seeing this year is 4.3%. Now, what are we really afraid of when it comes to our economy and how we're gonna handle this? The first is the massive job losses that this would entail, and the range na naman is so huge because we don't really know, how this is really gonna play out. It is from 116,000 jobs lost to as much as 1.8 million jobs that might be lost here. And depending on, what really happens, the estimated losses on our GDP is from 430 billion pesos up to a hefty 1.36 trillion. So it's really very worrying. Now, everyone's question is, what is the government doing? Now, we've reported this several times on the monetary side. So the plans of the central bank and how they're going to be using all the money that they have there. They've done several things. They've eased bank rules. They cut the benchmark rate, so made it cheaper for corporates and people to just get debt. It's now at 3.25%. You'll see that rolling on your screens. They also gave some money to the government basically. So they're lending them short-term 300 billion pesos in liquidity, and they've also cut the triple R cut. In fact, Ben Diokno is saying that he could cut this to 10% by the year end. So that's already a lot of liquidity. But he says they've done a lot on the monetary front, but fiscal has to do more. So the government needs to roll out more fiscal stimulus using, our taxpayer money and using this to fund an economic recovery. What have they announced so far? You're going to be seeing that on your screens, the fiscal stimulus and aid. They've already approved and President Duterte had requested for that a 275 billion funds realignment from our 2020 budget. He's also released 27.1 billion pesos of funds, and that's directly going to be going to not just the frontliners but also the job losses and economic relief. They've also asked for support from the ADB. Now, the ADB has now committed to fast-tracking loans, more than $1 billion worth of loans. Of course, we need to pay back all of these loans. In terms of grants, so just money that they're giving us that we don't necessarily have to pay back, that's around $5 million. So that's in addition to an emergency fund that they've already given us of $3 million. So the ADB actually helping us in this front. Where is this money of the ADB going to go? Well, a lot are actually going to go to the 4Ps program. So they're going to help the poorest of the poor, and also a lot of the loans will be going into improving a technical improval of our healthcare system, including just buying better PPEs for our medical staff here. So again, they've already sent $3 million for specifically buying the medical supplies and diagnostic materials. Now, where is the money going in terms of how DOLE or the Department of Labor is actually, pushing and helping the workers that have lost their jobs or are at risk of losing their jobs? Well, the DOLE assistance is right now standing at 1.3 billion pesos. That's for 250,000 workers. And then they've got an emergency employment program. So that's around 180 million pesos for 18,000 displaced workers, in addition, of course, to what the government has said. Big question on everyone's minds, is this enough? Analysts are saying not enough. So basically, you've got Alvin Ang from the Ateneo de Manila University says, understandable, DOLE is on the right track, but they need more resources. You've got the ANP's Mr. Sid De Rosa. He says that the government's stimulus package for workers may not be sufficient. Why is that? He says that, if the GDP will fall by as much as 1 percentage point, we're going to be losing directly 30,000 to 50,000 jobs, whereas the stimulus package would only create up to 17,000 jobs. So you're not going to be creating the same amount of jobs we might be losing. And in a really bad scenario, apart from losing jobs, we are not able to create more jobs. So that's the main reason there. It's not enough, not because we're losing jobs, but also in the fact that people, are entering the labor force and they need some more jobs. So again, economists saying the measures of the government not enough, a lot of pressure even from Central Bank Governor Ben Diokno to speed up this fiscal program. Now, moving on to markets, how is all of this affecting our sentiment? You're going to be seeing on your screens here, screenshots or graphics of how we have performed, and I just wanted to check in on our performance today. Not very good this Monday morning. We are at 5131.16. So that is actually a hefty drop of 2 6/10%. And this follows a lot of optimism that we had na last week. I mean, Friday, we were closing in the red as well. But on a weekly basis, we had actually climbed 10%. And that was the most we've seen since 2009. Before, last week, we actually had 4 straight weeks of decline. So it seemed that all of these stimulus programs were already helping us perform better, but as it stands, this today is proof that there's still a lot of risks on the table. Very quick check on your sectors here and who is still pulling their weight. Not a lot, really. 5 out of 6 in the red. The most heavily hit are the financials, actually down by 3 6/10%. But heavy losses as well, even in the property space. Holding firms, only mining and oil sitting out that sell-off, and that is in the green, up by 1%. And just very quick touch on your leaders and laggards for the day. Recall that trading closed at 12.50 earlier on. You've actually got 6 in the green this morning. You've got Aboitiz Equity Ventures, for instance, enjoying an 8 3/10% bump up. A couple of other retailers, for instance, Robinson's Retail is also up by more than 8%. And you've got, on the other hand, Pure Gold, which is one that actually some traders like a lot because they're benefiting from the fact that they're still open right now. That, however, has slid by 7 7/10%. Metro Pacific, another laggard today, that was down by the same amount as Pure Gold, even as they had announced that they're creating actually a COVID unit for their hospital. So what is the outlook on the markets? Well, AAA's Chris Mangan said investors well received the policy actions last week, and that spurred a bit of optimism there. But he says it's still very risky. There's a lot of volatility because investors are so mixed. Some refuse to agree that it is a crisis. Some are saying this is a massive dip that can be turned into an opportunity, and some see it as worse than ever, and that economies are at stake. So there's still this divergence according to Chris Mangan. You've also got BDO CIO Fritz Ocampo saying that we could actually reach levels that may technically qualify as a bull market, so people might be buying in, but still we have not. It's very hard to say, according to him, whether we've already hit rock bottom, and he does like the telecom stocks and those that stand to benefit in this, such as Pure Gold, albeit it wasn't really performing well today. Now, just one news that I wanted to break here before I go. That is Cebu Pacific. I mean, this has been a stock that has been battered together with Philippine Airlines. They've had to close shop earlier on. And you're going to be, they've actually just announced that their 2019 profit rose to 9.12 billion pesos. So that is a hefty gain, 132% gain from the 3.9 billion pesos. That's on the back of revenues inching up by more than 10 billion pesos. I just want to take a very quick peek on how that stock performed today. It actually hit a high of up by 7% earlier on this morning. So just very quick peek because my terminal is taking a while. But Cebu Pacific theoretically should be one of our non-index stocks that have performed. There you have it. It's 46 pesos and 50 centavos. That's up by more than 7%. So that's the first look into the business day this Monday, March 30, 2020. Thank you for watching. I'm Danny Laurel, and we are One News.